Awesome. Good morning, folks. My name is Courtney. I am the education programmer with BCNPHA. I'm very excited to welcome you all here with us this morning. A perk of my job is I get to sit in all of our education sessions and learn about things very much outside the scope of my role. Um, I want to just briefly acknowledge that I am calling in today from the traditional lands of Sauk Nation on Vancouver Island. Very honored to be able to live and work here as a uninvited guest with my family and enjoy my little house in the woods and be able to work remotely with BCMPHA. I will pass over the microphone to Nicholas in a second. If you have any tech concerns or things, I will be your hopeful, helpful person. Please just send me a DM, wave frantically in the camera. Please ignore my cat. She's being a bit much this morning. We will do our very best to help you should you have any tech concerns. Yeah, and there'll be time for questions at the end. But if you have like burning questions as people are going through, please feel free to say things in the chat or pop your hand up and unmute and ask them, and we will do our best. But hopefully you enjoy your time, and I will pass things over to Nicholas. Thanks, folks.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our opportunity assessment session. So Nicholas James, I am with AMA. I'm the Energy Program Advisor in Data Strategies team here at AMA. So welcome, everyone, and hope that we will have a productive session here for this education session. Yeah, so before we begin, I'd just like to pause a second to do the acknowledgement. So we honor elders past, present, and future from all nations and traditional territories. The land and the water colonially named BC are home to over 290,000 Indigenous people and more than 200 distinct First Nations. So we just like to start off this session the right way by ensuring that we acknowledge those past, present, and future. Introduction. So Nicholas James again here at ALMA. We're going to be having Kimia, data analyst at BCNPHA, and Harrison, also from BCNPHA, who is a building energy specialist. So these two persons will be doing most of the talking. I'm just here to help to guide the discussion, answer any, monitor the chat to ensure if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in chat. I will be sure to direct them to either Kimia or Harrison or any other individual that you would like the questions to be answered by as we go along. We'd also like to encourage persons to please keep your cameras on if possible, so that we can just have that kind of face-to-face engagement with each other, even though we're virtual. And for the agenda today, we're going to be looking at first the energy audits versus your productivity assessments. After that, we're going to be moving into the SHESP overview. And then from there, we'll lead into the opportunity assessment process. This will go into a little bit more in depth of what we would like to look into. After that, we'll go into the closing remarks, and I'll be monitoring the chat for any questions that we would like to have at the end of our discussion. Without further ado, I welcome our first presenter to lead us through this session.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicholas. So before getting started and getting into the bulk of the presentation, we'll take a quick look at how these opportunity assessments are similar and different to BCNPHA's Level 1 energy audits, which we've offered in the past and we will continue to offer in parallel with these opportunity assessments. So both of these reports are great early stage assessments to get a high level understanding of potential retrofit opportunities in a building. And we generally recommend moving on to these more energy-focused assessments after having done a building condition assessment. And BCNPHA also offers this as a separate service. And the BCAs are more focused towards taking stock of all the existing building components. So during a level 1 energy audit, we make a site visit to assess the building systems. Here, we'll check the existing condition of the equipment and also take down any relevant information. We'll also benchmark the building and analyze the energy performance, which helps us make suggestions on potential retrofit opportunities in the building, largely from a qualitative perspective. These level 1 audits are completely free of charge and come with an energy report as the main deliverable. The opportunity assessments also include a site visit and an energy benchmarking and analysis section, but with a greater depth of analysis that allows us to create business cases for each recommended retrofit opportunity. These business cases, as we'll see, give a more quantitative assessment that can support more informed decisions for your retrofit priorities. In addition to this, the opportunity assessments, or OAs for short, include a high-level electrical capacity check and provides a direct connection to equipment rebates. The OAs are fully funded through BC Hydro's new Social Housing Energy Savings Program, or SHESP, which we're going to take a quick look at in a moment. So the societies are only faced with paying GST for these opportunity assessments. The main deliverables for the OAs are a report and a workbook, which are both submitted to BC Hydro after completion for their review. So as mentioned, the OAs are funded through BC Hydro's new program, which targets improving electrical efficiency of existing buildings. The funding is split into 3 different funding buckets, one for opportunity assessments, one for feasibility studies, and one for equipment upgrade funding. The opportunity assessment funding is intended to support OAs, which identify those potential retrofit opportunities across an entire building. The feasibility studies are meant for more detailed technical reports, which are driven by engineering consultants who go into more depth surrounding the cost, design, and risks associated with specific measures. And finally, the equipment upgrade funding is to provide rebates for installing that equipment. And this currently covers HVAC, building envelope, and lighting measures for both common area and in-suite. Taking a closer look at the opportunity assessment funding, the eligibility follows the more general social housing ESP funding criteria. So the fund is for nonprofit housing providers, provincial and local government housing authorities, charity organizations, and governing bodies of Indigenous communities. The main stipulation here is that individual tenants cannot apply for funding through this program. Multi-unit residential buildings, or MURBs, are the main building type served by this fund. However, townhomes and row homes with shared HVAC, central HVAC systems may also be considered. And as mentioned earlier, the program is focused on supporting electrical efficiency upgrades. However, the opportunity assessments are one of the exceptions to this in the social housing ESP program, where fuel switching opportunities can be explored as long as there's at least one electrical efficiency measure that's included or looked at in the OA. The social housing ESP program offers $4,500 for OAs when BCMPHA completes this work, and up to $6,000 if it's completed by another consultant. BCMPHA charges $4,500 for OAs, so the social housing ESP funding completely covers this cost, and the only cost that the society incurs is the GST. BC Hydro has also set up direct billing so that consultants or BCMPHA can be paid directly without the society having to carry that cost for a period of time. This slide shows the typical process for an energy retrofit project that we see here at BCMPHA. And what we want to emphasize is that the OAs are an early stage assessment that's done to survey those potential opportunities in a building before moving on to those more detailed reports like feasibility studies or level 2 energy studies, funding applications, and implementing the equipment. Here we've broken down the process of doing an opportunity assessment with BCMPHA, and we're going to go into more detail for each of these steps in the following slides. But to start, we will do some pre-visit requests, and then we'll move on to building benchmarking. After having done those 2 things, we'll move on to the site visit, where we will assess the building and its mechanical equipment. BCMPHA will then complete the project deliverables. So as discussed, that's going to be a report and a workbook. Once those are complete, we'll have a debrief meeting with society and submit that workbook and report to the CEM Hub. And we'll touch on what the CEM Hub is in a moment. And then we move on to the final step, which is measurement and verification.
As we go into the next slide, Harrison, I have a question here on about the previous slide. Oh, it's good. Answered by Edward. Thanks so much, Edward.
Okay, perfect. So the first step in this process is the pre-visit requests. So here we'll get societies to send us utility bill information and fill out a few different forms that help us benchmark their building's energy consumption if we haven't done this already. And we're going to hear more about this benchmarking process from Kimia just after this. In addition to that, we will also need societies to authorize access to their hourly peak demand data from BC Hydro. And this is required for that high-level electrical capacity check that we do in these OA reports. Finally, we also help societies sign up for BC Hydro's CEM Hub. The CEM Hub is where all of the social housing energy savings program applications are created and submitted. And so if you're working with BCMPHA, we can support you in creating that CEM Hub account. We can also help support you in creating your OA funding application and submitting it through the portal. Once that OA application has been accepted in the portal, we can then move on to the bulk of the work. And I'm now going to pass up to Kimia to share more about our benchmarking process.
Thank you, Harrison. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to explain about the energy benchmarking, which is initial phase of the opportunity assessment. When we talk about energy benchmarking, we are really talking about two things, measuring and comparing. Measuring the energy performance of a building and comparing that performance to similar buildings or a standard to evaluate how energy efficient a building is. Next slide. When it comes to the measuring piece of benchmarking, the metric of choice here is energy use intensity or EUI. Why we use EUI? The EUI is basically the amount of energy consumed annually per unit of floor area of a building, which allows us to compare different building sizes on a level playing field. A higher EUI means lower efficiency when comparing building energy performance. For example, in the picture, when comparing these two buildings, the smaller one is less efficient because its energy consumption per square meter results in a higher energy use intensity. Next slide, please. Why we use benchmarking? There are a few good reasons for why benchmarking sits at the start of the retrofit process. First of all, benchmarking gives us a starting point by establishing a baseline, and baseline acts as a reference for energy use for each building. For example, if a building consumed 100,000 kilowatt hour in 2024 under normal conditions, that becomes the baseline for us. Without knowing the baseline and current energy use, it's not possible to measure improvements. And benchmarking also helps us to highlight where energy is being wasted by identifying the least efficient buildings within a portfolio. And this in turn can guide prioritizing which buildings to tackle for energy retrofit. If you are setting target for yourself for energy reduction, benchmarking data helps you ensure that these targets are achievable or not. And it can serve as a reference to check your savings just after a retrofit using a process of measurement and verification. And ultimately, it improves a stakeholder confidence because data-driven decision builds more trust, and it shows that retrofit is built are facts are on facts, not on assumptions or opinions. So we can say that benchmarking helps set up success for retrofit projects. Next slide, please. You may ask the question, how do we collect energy data for benchmarking? At BCMPHA, we support nonprofits with this process from start to finish through our free benchmarking service. We use a platform called Energy Star Portfolio Manager or ESPM, which is most commonly used benchmarking platform in Canada and in North America. Here we create account for societies, and from there, we add their buildings information to their accounts and then the energy meters to their respective buildings. Next slide, please. One advantage about ESPM is that you can connect energy meters to utility providers, namely BC Hydro and FortisBC. And what that means is that the connected energy meters will receive automated uploads of energy used every billing cycle. Connected meters in ESPM create a dashboard, as you can see in the picture, a dashboard similar to this. It enables us to monitor each building's energy consumption patterns on an ongoing basis. Next slide, please. Once we've added all the buildings that the society requested, your landing page in ESPM can now give you a quick overview of how the buildings compare in terms of energy use and EUI. I should also mention that societies have full access to their own accounts, and we are just like administer and monitoring everything for them. Next slide, please. Now that we are done with the measuring part, you can start comparing the EUIs or energy use intensities of your buildings to see how they stack up. Buildings with significantly higher EUI would be a prime candidate for a deeper investigation. And this, of course, can help you decide which buildings to start with when it comes to the BC Hydro opportunity assessment. Next slide, please. Another advantage of benchmarking with BCM-PHA is that we issue monthly energy meter anomaly notifications. And we do this by applying anomaly notification methods to identify meters with unusual consumption patterns. This helps housing providers investigate leaks, any unusual operations, or equipment failures or operational issues. Next slide, please. And our anomaly detection process relies on data and a few tools. The process starts with extracting energy meters and data about the building performance, about the energy from the ESPM. Then analyzing the use patterns and assigning an outlier score to each meter by some analyzing tools. And these scores are then written to the Excel file. This Excel would be a source file and data source for the in Power BI when the notifications are generated. Next slide. The reports that we generate, it's similar to this report that you can see in the slide. We share the notifications with societies and assist them with troubleshooting the root causes of the anomalies. Now, I'll hand it off to Harrison to go over the other phases of the retrofit process. Thank you.
Thanks, Kimia. So after benchmarking, we will schedule a site visit with the society. These site visits will typically take somewhere between 1 to 2 hours, depending on the size of the building and the building type. When we arrive, we try to set aside around 10 to 15 minutes to have a kickoff meeting with the property manager or other society representative that's there to discuss the building a little bit more. And so we'll want to hear about any priorities that the staff on site may have identified previously, any tenant concerns or complaints, or anything else that might help guide the rest of our visit. On the site walkthrough, we will visit the mechanical room, the electrical room, all common areas throughout the building. So this can be gathering spaces, gyms, anything of that kind of nature, hallways, lobbies. 1 to 2 tenant suites if possible, so we can get an idea for the types of equipment that the tenants have in their suites, and the parking garage or rooftop if those are applicable to the building. And while we're doing our walkthrough, we'll be taking plenty of pictures to document the existing equipment in its current condition, and also take note of the nameplate information, which is going to help us with our calculations for the report and the workbook. On the right-hand side of this slide are some photos of the types of equipment and spaces that we'll visit. So in this case, on the top left, we have a picture of a makeup air unit which is mounted on the roof. Beside that, we have an electric baseboard in one of the tenant suites. Again, we like to try and go into these tenant suites so we can get a better idea of what the tenants have and what they would like to see in their units. And then in the mechanical room, we have a picture of a boiler here. In this case, we would be looking at a fuel switching opportunity to upgrade that to an electric unit. And then we like to see electrical panels in the electrical room as well. So after the site visit, we take all of the photos and notes that we've gathered and compile it into the workbook and the report. And as we saw earlier, the report contains a lot of the same information that has been in our level 1 energy audits, but with some added elements and enhanced scope. And this includes that improved and enhanced energy use analysis, a high-level electrical capacity check, those business cases, which are built up for each recommended retrofit opportunity, and will provide that direct connection to social housing energy savings program equipment upgrade incentives. Now, there's a lot of value in building up these business cases for each recommended retrofit opportunity because they can help give societies an early indication of the potential savings, cost, and impact of these measures. And in order to do this, we rely very heavily on the data that's collected during that benchmarking step that Kimia just talked about previously. So we'll go in and we'll take the energy data from ESPM and do some additional analysis on that to assess the consumption by fuel type, the emissions and cost associated with each fuel type, the seasonal versus base consumption in the building, and the consumption based on the end use. So this includes things like domestic hot water, suite heating, common area heating, cooling loads, and plug loads, and ventilation heating as well. And so with all of this information, we can build the business cases for each opportunity by estimating the potential energy savings, the cost savings, the emissions reductions, and the project cost. And all of this is very valuable information for societies to have in those early stages of retrofit planning because it can help them prioritize their projects or look into the feasibility of doing something to work towards in the future. So some examples of equipment upgrade funding that is provided through the social housing ESP program, which we consider when we're building these business cases, include domestic hot water upgrades. So this is relevant for both central domestic hot water heat pumps and in-suite domestic hot water heat pumps. Envelope upgrades. So there's funding for upgrading to double glazed windows from single glazed or replacing double glazed with double glazed if you already have that. And this is for both in-suite and common areas. There's also funding for HVAC improvements, so a variety of different types of heat pumps. This includes packaged terminal heat pumps, mini splits, multi-splits, variable refrigerant flow heat pumps, and makeup air unit heat pumps. There are also incentives for controls, so variable speed drives and parkade carbon monoxide monitors. And finally, there are potential retro opportunities and funding available for lighting. So this pertains to both in-suite and common area LEDs. After the workbook and report are completed, we'll then schedule a debrief meeting with the society to go over the findings of the report and answer any questions that they might have. The workbook and report will then be uploaded and submitted to the CEM Hub to be reviewed by BC Hydro. After that time, the funds will then be paid to either the society or BCMPHA, depending on the billing indicated on the application. I'm now going to hand it back over to Kimia to discuss the final stages of the OA process.
Thanks, Harrison. Yeah, after we've found, applied for, and successfully received funding for a specific retrofit opportunities, projects will then move to the implementation phase. But the journey does not end after implementation. Measurement and verification is another important step in the retrofit process that helps ensure projects work as intended. This step is also closely tied benchmarking, where we use energy consumption data to help inform and track the project performance. Next slide, please. Measurement and verification, or M&V, is the practice of confirming the actual energy savings delivered by an efficiency project against its expected performance. It provides a kind of assurance that the savings from retrofits or operational changes are genuine and can be accurately measured. Next slide. Our M&V process starts by exporting property and energy data from ESBM. This data is fed to a software called RetScreen, where a regression is built for the energy use versus heating degree days or cooling degree days, depending on the application. The regression model is then used to predict what the energy use would have been like if had no retrofit been implemented. Next slide, please. And that allows us to compare the actual energy consumption to the predicted one. Ideally, we want to accumulate enough seasonal data before conducting M&V. So at least 1 year of data should be used post-retrofit for this analysis. In a perfect world, we want to see the actual energy use come in lower than the predicted one. As you can see in the picture, like the green line is the actual energy and the blue line is the predicted one. We want to see the actual energy use come in lower than the predicted one, which signals savings from the retrofit. We then create a retrofit impact brief that we share with societies, highlighting the annual savings achieved from the retrofit. With that, we've now touched on each of the steps in the energy retrofit process, from benchmarking and studies to funding, measurement, and verification. I'm now going to hand it off to Harrison to highlight key takeaways from our webinar today. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Kimia. So I'd like to close things out with a few concluding remarks. We've covered a lot of information in today's presentation, but there are 4 key takeaways that we'd like you to walk away with. The first of which is that opportunity assessments are an enhanced version of BCMPHA's Level 1 energy audits, which we've offered in the past and will continue to offer in parallel with these opportunity assessments. The opportunity assessments are fully funded through BC Hydro's Social Housing Energy Savings Program, and GST is the only cost that is incurred by the Society. At least one electrical efficiency measure must be assessed in an opportunity assessment. And these opportunity assessments are data-driven and rely very heavily on benchmarking data, as we've seen, to build the business cases for each retrofit opportunity and allow us to make those recommended retrofit opportunities from a more quantitative standpoint. So here we see the retrofit process one last time. After an opportunity assessment, we would potentially recommend moving towards a feasibility study, or maybe moving towards or directly towards applying for equipment rebates. And this will all depend on the type of project that the society is pursuing or the society's priorities. And so we tend to take this on a case-by-case basis, but generally speaking, this is the flow of a retrofit that we tend to see. But in any case, BCMPHA offers many free, low, or no-cost services that can support nonprofit housing providers throughout any of these steps. So if you would like an opportunity assessment, or you don't know where to begin, you can reach out to myself or anyone else in the asset management department, and we would be happy to start that conversation with you. So these are some of those services that I alluded to that our asset management department offers. These top 5 are our no-cost free services, and that includes the building benchmarking and Level 1 energy audits that we talked about previously. In addition to that, we also offer retrofit coaching, funding accruement support, and post-project support. And these bottom 4 are our low-cost services. So the BC Hydro opportunity assessments and building condition assessments, which were talked about previously, are included in this, as well as capital planning and property management software. And with that, here's the contact information for Nicholas, Kimia, and myself. If you have any questions or want to reach out to us after the presentation, please send us an email. Thank you very much for your time this morning, and we'd like to open the floor for questions now.
So I have a question out here for any member of the panel. It has to do with the energy retrofits, on the how we look at the business case for energy retrofit. Do we tailor the analysis of like local climate risk faced by each community, or is it like a standardized approach how we develop those types of bu- business case for energy retrofits?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we tailor this towards each specific building and what the regional impacts could be in that area. So for each retrofit opportunity, we have a section detailing what the existing equipment is and where it's located. We'll give a suggestion for the proposed equipment. And then we have a section on the impact of that proposed equipment. So this is from sort of an efficiency standpoint. So how does it outperform the existing equipment? And we'll also talk about the co-benefits of that equipment. So whether that's adding cooling or improving ventilation in areas that might be more heavily impacted by wildfire smoke in the summertime. We also include a section on the barriers that should be considered for this proposed equipment. And then we'll also include a section on the potential funding mechanisms that could help with that, implementing that retrofit opportunity. So in addition to social housing ESP program funding, which this is largely geared towards, if there's another opportunity, then we'll also mention that in our report and try and make that connection for you if you want to move forward to implementation with that opportunity.
Perfect. We got a follow-up here from Dill. Could you please elaborate some important points when preparing the business case based on your experience? I think he's alluding to that business case for the energy retrofit. Are there any important points that we need to look into or can elaborate on?
Yeah, so we'll build those business cases by having conversations with the society. So in the kickoff meeting and after we build up the report and send it back and have that debrief meeting, we'll talk about what the society's priorities are, and we'll take into consideration, what their budget is, and assign a priority level to each retrofit opportunity. Also, as we talked about, the benchmarking data is a huge piece of the puzzle when we build up these business cases. So we'll look at how much energy, let's say a makeup air unit is using through like the ventilation heating load in a building. We'll calculate what the estimated savings could be, both in energy, kilowatt hours saved and dollars saved, as well as emissions. And we take all of that and bundle it into, essentially a priority level that we recommend for the society. But it is up to the society after that if they want to move forward with it or not.
Mhm. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. I guess on that, Harrison, I have a follow-up. And it kind of played into what you just mentioned, those tools. So it's basically what help is available for providers who struggle with gathering or maintaining accurate benchmarking data. Are there any help? But I mean, this is one of the help that is offered webinar like this. But are there any other help tools that members can use to get the information they need when it comes to maintaining accurate benchmarking data?
Yeah, I would recommend reaching out to someone in the asset management department at BCMPHA to kick off that conversation about benchmarking. When we do benchmark a building, we'll ask societies for things like utility bills so we can help make that automatic connection. Once they have that connection to their meters through ESPM and we've given them access to that account, we think that is a great tool for housing providers to actively revisit because it tracks that energy use month by month as those consumption bills come through. And so they can stay on top of what their consumption looks like month on month by going to that platform. Kimia, do you have anything else to add to that one?
No, I think your explanation is good. Yeah, that's the clear tool that they can use is ESPM. We set up their account and they have access anytime they want to check and monitor their energy use based on energy use intensity and the energy use itself.
Okay.
Maybe I'll add to that. If housing providers, I mean, they have access to that ESPM account, but maybe they're unsure how to interpret it or what to do with that data. we would encourage them again to reach out to someone on the benchmarking team or just within asset management in general. And we can help work with them and talk about what that data means and maybe how they want to action that if they are looking to decrease that energy consumption that ESPM might be pointing towards.
Yes, exactly.
I think you read my mind, Harrison, because I was going to ask, are there any help in terms of how how a society could understand what they're collecting, understand
Yeah.
how it's being used and so forth. So that's a good input just now. And I have one more from Dale. What are the solutions when building is old and had no proper information for equipment details? So I'm assuming
Yeah.
boilers and so forth.
Yeah. So we would recommend getting a building condition assessment done if one has not been done or if it's been outdated for quite some time. The building condition assessment is going to take stock of all of the existing building components, and that includes all of the mechanical equipment, the windows, the controls, everything that we'll look at in the opportunity assessment. And we use that as a reference point for some of that information before we go on site to know what we might encounter while we're doing that site visit. So if a BCA building condition assessment hasn't been done already, we recommend getting one of those done. And we have a building condition assessment team at BCMPHA. So if you're interested in getting one of those, please reach out to myself and we can help make that introduction with the BCA team. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and I do believe ARMA also has some BCAs that will do work. So please reach out to any of the team as well, and I'm sure that they'll be happy to come in and do that something for you. Are there any other questions? Oh, hold on. Cost. Is there a cost associated for a BCA? Or what's the cost range?
There is a cost associated with BCAs. I don't know that off the top of my head, but maybe Edward, do you have an idea of that?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? I was just taking a message.
What the cost range is for BCAs offered by BCMPHA?
That will really depend on the number of units and some other factors. But, comparatively, I would really encourage nonprofit societies to get a quote from us because we do make them incredibly competitive for the sector.
Okay. And is there usually a wait time to get this done? That was also one more question in the chat as well. Sarah was addressing just now as well.
For BCAs, depending on the location, there could be a wait time. So it's good to touch base with us as soon as possible, and our capital planning team can provide a no-cost quote and give an indication on when they'd be able to make it to your region.
Okay. So essentially, it would be ideal for societies to treat BC as like your fitness for your car. Ever so often, you have to do like a BCA to get to understand exactly what's going on with the components of that building, so that we can make necessary recommendations to either change, retrofit, or to improve those systems. And I'm seeing here is a course. The IPA course shows registration not available.
Yeah, I'm answering Dill, but I can also
Okay.
just say it as well. Registration for IP2 is currently open for our member organizations only, and I'm taking a wait list for those who are not paid members but are interested in doing it. So Dill, if you want to just send me an email and I'll type it into the chat as well if you're interested in that, or anyone else.
Okay. All right. Hopefully that answers the question for you, Dill. Are there any other questions? No? All right. I guess with that then, it would be email. I guess for that then we'll just say thanks to everyone who took the time to attend the webinar. I want to also say thank you to Harrison and Kimia for the presentation. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else can say the same, that they learned a lot as well. And we're looking forward to maybe round 2 or a follow-up webinar next time on this topic. So thanks to everyone. I'm not sure if there are any final words from Courtney or from Harrison or from Kimia, but thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of
Thanks,
your day.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. And just let you know, too, we will be emailing out this recording to those who registered and placing it up on our website and our YouTube channel. So you can share it with your friends, your family, put it in your Christmas cards, and watch it as often as you'd like to. Thanks, folks. Enjoy your
Thank
day.
you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.